Hey all, we're back. So I'm going to start off building up the motor, and I do this in just short bursts. So step 1 is the engine halves, step 2 is the cylinder heads, and step 3 is the oil pans. So we're just going to put those together to start. All right. So when you're, laying these up, you want to just pay attention to the seam itself. Make sure it's not off, too much shadow one way or the other across that line. It would indicate that it's not properly aligned. Now this really light liquid plastic cement runs straight into these gaps and can create a pretty good bond pretty quickly. So you just want to make sure that you've got those halves aligned properly the way they ought to be. Just go around the part and make sure that it's aligned all the way around. And you can be extra generous with the adhesive in any area that's going to be covered by yet another part. That's always a good idea. The oil pan's going to lay down in here, so it doesn't really matter how wild you get with your adhesive in areas like that. Areas like this are going to be visible, but because it's a liquid cement, it doesn't really take up and create its own complications. It's just like paint. It's easy to sand off anything that's not looking the way it ought to. And that's good to keep in mind. You're not disfiguring your, like the way some tube adhesives can do, create a mess on the areas you don't want to, areas and places you don't want to mess. Okay, so then we just want to make sure we're checking alignment on these parts. Now I seem to indicate, obviously this is the header side where the headers plug into the cylinder heads. Just want to make sure we get that right. Here's the orientation of the engine block. If we look at this illustration here, we've got on this side, we've got these cylinder head with the notch at the front and then the 2 holes on the side down here, not on top. So that would indicate this configuration. So we just want to make sure we get that kind of make that determination before we actually lay it on there. Now maybe I should have used, you know what? Liquid cement isn't the best. These are pretty large pieces, and they have quite a bit of surface area. I might use a different adhesive, I think, going forward on this. Let me see how this stuff is on the next step. I guess this shouldn't be. It should be adhering by now. It seems to be back here, but just it's separated here on the bell housing for the transmission. All right, so again we have it set this way. And it looks like, could it go either one? Oh, it sure could. Here's what we're doing. Okay, I see it. So they've actually got a notch right here. See, this is why you test fit stuff. Okay. Now, let's see if this is still a good adhesive. I don't even know. I haven't cleaned this up. Even though it will be covered by the manifold. Should clean it up a little bit. Oh yeah. Still good. Thing when you're like me and you don't build a whole lot of these plastic kits, most of my supplies that have a shelf life have usually expired between one job and the next. And I think so. The plug wire situation, that's what these notches down here are for. This is where the spark plugs should go. And we're definitely going to be doing that, so that gives a nice, good indication of where those go. Now I'll be drilling holes here and inserting some fine wire for the tubing to slip over, so that I'm not fiddling with just trying to glue rubber wire to nothing. We have to kind of do it in such a way that, well, that'll work. You got to do it in such a way, in the way that it works. He's talking a lot, but he's not saying anything. Let's get this other one on. And put that oil pan on there. Most of these, if you look at them as sub-assemblies, the motor is a sub-assembly, and then the frame and chassis is a sub-assembly, and then the interior is another one. You can kind of figure out the way you want to go about painting. Like I don't have to first paint each half of the engine and then glue it together. You don't want to do that. So you want to glue some of these sub-assemblies, get them largely together, not completely together, before you start painting on them, for a number of reasons. But not least of all is that you don't want to be spraying paint everywhere. Okay, this goes this way, right? Yeah, it's not a terrific fit, but I think it'll be okay. We're all still buried underneath the car. And again, I'm not as concerned about a showpiece here as I am getting the lighting into it. Just want to make sure everything is straight and square, just like we always do, and we want to make sure we're doing clean assembly the way we try to. Not big chunks of plastic sticking out that should have been cut off or sanded away. But in the case of a motor assembly like this, we can leave it in a little bit of a rough stage until I get most of this to where it's just before we're going to paint this collection of parts as one, and at that point I'll get in there and do some cleanup now. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and step 4, starter. We can put the starter on, we can put the water pump on. So the starter is part number 6, and that's here. Oh, it's got a big old sinkhole in it. Hopefully it's on the back side. And then where's the water pump? You might see it before I do. It may not be. Ah, there it is. What number are you? 7. 7. Front cover. Well, it's the water pump, isn't it? Yes. Front cover, aka water pump. We got sandpaper? I do. So some of these parts, you want to sand them up before you stick them on. Just get the seam line out of them. I think water pump goes this way, huh? Are you sure about that? That doesn't look right. It looks like it has to go this way. Ah, it goes this way. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. So, I mean, this can be out of, I can put this part on before I put the starter motor on. It doesn't, that's not mission critical, is it? Hello? There we go. Where are you? Right there. So we'll get the nuts and bolts aligned on that, the 2 flanges, make it look like we knew what we were doing when we started this kit. Come on now. You're supposed to be right there. Don't act like you don't know where you're supposed to be. There. I think that's good. Keeps trying to wiggle around. Now it's all plastic cement. There's no reason you can't put the liquid over top of the jelly. Or the, what do you call this? It's like a tube of cement, but I don't know what viscosity you'd refer to that. It's not really jelly, but you know, for the sake of our arguments here, it's jelly. Jelly and liquid water. Water like cement, not water-based. Yeesh, I talk too much. I don't really, like I said. What do you get out of it? I don't know. You tell me. Alright, where's our starter motor? I want to make sure we have that sinkhole hidden, and we don't. It's supposed to go like this, somehow, on there. Like that. But then there's this giant sinkhole. We're going to have to fill that with glue, aren't we? Yes. Yes, we are. I could use super glue in some instances here too, but well, let's use the plastic cement for now. Yeah. Oh, come on. Alright, so I think that's pretty much where that is supposed to go. And I'm going to drop in a little bit of the liquid down here where it sits kind of against the firewall. And then we'll use a drop of super glue. Boy, this thing is on that sinkhole. You know, when that hardens up, I can sand on it a little bit. I don't want it to go all the way, you know, cured, but I do want it to set up just a little bit when I start sanding it. The plastic that I'm sanding away will help fill that hole and finish that off. I don't want that big sinkhole there. That might be visible with the hood open. Whether or not the hood opens, to be determined. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what else can I do before painting? Probably nothing. Probably going to end up painting this as a piece, as a unit. Alright. For now, we'll just let this cure, and I'll check back in with you guys later. Thanks for watching.